So now we're going to take a look at, in this chapter, we're going to take a look at about how do we appreciate the differences. One of the things that that we learn in organizations, in the many organizations that I've worked with, is that within every organization and every organizational culture, you have a lot of different styles of people, which is good. And one of the things we want to be sure and emphasize is that we need each style. There's not a good style or a bad style. Each person has some traits, characteristics that are different. And what we want to do is learn how do we appreciate those? How do we learn how to use those differences to capitalize on them and use those strengths to make our organization stronger? So let's take a look at appreciating others. How do we do that? You've got a handout there that is one that talks about several principles in terms of interpersonal relationships, and then how do we appreciate the differences, and how do we really get along, if you will, with other people. Let's take a look at that. Look at your handout. And the first principle that we want to talk about a little bit is that I can't change other people's behavior. I can only change my own. I ask the question many times to individuals that says, well, you know, what's the only person that you really have control over? And of course the answer is yourself. We really can't control other people. People ask me, said, well, can you motivate other people? And the answer is, well, actually you don't motivate other people, but what you do is you create an environment in which they can motivate themselves. So I think that's part of our role as a manager and a leader, is that we create an environment in our organization, in our culture, that allows people to use their differences and allows them to use their skills, their talents, and their behavior styles. So the first one says we can't change them, but what we can do is we can change ourselves. The little action steps there is find out, well, what kind of style you have, and what is your style? And we've talked about that before. You have an opportunity to do the survey at the end and find out, well, what is my own behavior style, and what are some of the traits and characteristics that I have? And I hope you'll do that if you haven't done that already. Principle number 2 is you teach people how to treat you by the way you act and respond. We teach people how to treat us by the way we treat them. One of the situations comes to my mind about a story about the two attorneys who families were very good friends, and they did things together, they're couples, and came around after around 15 years, one of the parties came in to talk to his friend, and he says, John, I'm getting a divorce. And he was kind of shocked at him, and John says, well, what happened? I mean, we've known you guys for years and years. We've done things. Our kids have grown up together. He said, my kids are out of the house. We've got an empty nest now. It's just she and I. And he said, I just can't take it anymore. You know, she has beat me up for 15 years. She's ragged on me. I can't tell you all the abuse I've taken over these years. But I did it for the kids. But he says, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. He says, I just need you to help me with my divorce. And he went on and on and on, talking about how bad his wife had treated him. So John says to him, he says, well, it sounds like you're not only mad, but you're bitter. And he says, I am. I'm very bitter. And he said, well, how would you like to get even? And he said, well, yeah, it'd be terrific. I mean, she's given me so much misery. He said, well, let's do this. He said, for the next 30 days, he said, why don't you just treat her like a queen? Bring her flowers, send her little notes, take her to dinner, short weekend holidays, and then in 30 days, what we'll do is we'll slap this divorce papers on her. I mean, it will be coming right out of the blue. She'll never see it coming. It'll just crush her. And he smiles, and his friend smiles and said, that will be great. Oh man, I can't wait. So he says, okay. He says, I'll see you in 30 days. So time goes by, 30 days goes by, and John doesn't see his friend. So he's at the golf club one Saturday, and he sees him sitting over chatting with some other other members of the club, and he goes over and kind of wanders over there, and he says, Sam, he says, when you coming by the office? And his friend kind of looked at him and said, well, what do you mean? And he kind of leans over and whispers to him about the divorce papers. And Sam kind of looked at him with surprise and says, what do you mean? Why would I divorce a princess like I have? What happened in 30 days? Well, we can't control other people, but we control our behavior. And when we control our behavior, it reflects what other people do and how they respond to us. So the great principle to learn is that if you're not getting along with someone, if you're having difficulty, if you're having a conflict situation, think about how you're treating that person. Start treating them differently and watch how they begin to change. Principle number 3, you choose and feel and react the way you do. You choose to feel like you do. One of the things that we knew is we have a choice. We have a choice to get up in the morning and feel like it's going to be another day in the rat race. Or we can get up thinking about, well, what are some good things that can happen today? What are some good things that I can do? How can I help people today? It all has to do a matter of attitude. And that attitude that we have has to do with what we choose. And make choices. If you make choices to behave in a certain way that support and serve other people, then that's the kind of response that you're going to get. It builds teamwork. It reduces that kind of conflict. Look at number 4. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. That's kind of like our golden rule. That's a good biblical principle. It says treat others like you want to be treated. Take care of others. Respect other people. And give them that respect and treatment that you would like to have. And when you do, just like John and Sam in the illustration we talked about, you're going to get a response back from other people that will surprise you. You'll see the changes, but what will happen is you will have changed, therefore they begin to change. And you're really the only one that you can control and make that change with. So those are 4 key principles, I think, that you want to keep in mind, work with. And then let's take a look at our other next piece of our handout. It's called Appreciating Others. And in this one, what I want you to do is a practical exercise. What I want you to do in that first part there, it says, what tendencies do other people have that you would like to have or exhibit? You know, each of us can analyze our own behavior and our own style and say, well, gee, I wish I was more like such and such, or I wish I had more of these type of traits and characteristics that maybe I don't have. Well, in the first part of this exercise, I want you to just kind of list down some of the things that you want to develop. Why would you do that? Well, when you do that, what happens is you begin to be aware of those things that you want to do. You start to make conscious decisions about those, and then as you revisit those and rehearse those things that you want become more and more natural for you and characteristic of you. Look down at the second one there. It says, because you value people with different styles, here's a chance for you to, like we did in our exercise where you filled out the charts and the graphs based on characteristics. What I want you to do here is take a look at the D, the I, the S, and the C and put down there some traits and characteristics that each of those styles have that you can become more aware of. That as you become more aware of those type of styles, then how do you can adapt and appreciate the differences that they are and what they have and what they bring to the table. So this is a brief little exercise, but be sure and do it. You'll get a lot out of there, and you'll learn a lot about both how you can appreciate others as well as what things you need to do to make changes or adapt to other people's style.